Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I will be using the Ultimate Pokemon Picker website to figure out my favorite Pokemon of every type. Sorry this video took so long to get out. I've had a lot of changes recently, but I will be making a great next video provided y'all can wait for it. But now let's get into the video. Okay, so starting with the Gen 1 normal type. Of the options presented, my favorites would probably be Dodrio, Raticate, Tauros, and Snorlax. And I think I'm going to have to give the slight edge to Snorlax here. I just like how big he is, and the other options I just have no attachment to at all. So the fire type, I would probably have to pick Charizard because that's the only one I really like, besides Moltres. But then we get to water type, and there's way too many options for this one for me to pick a defined favorite. But my favorites for this group would probably be Blastoise, Squirtle, Gyarados, Lapras, and Vaporeon. But Vaporeon is my favorite evolution. Oh, I forgot about Tentacruel too. I like Tentacruel as well. Blastoise is probably my favorite starter from the first region, but I think I'll pick Vaporeon, but Gyarados would be coming in a close second. And then on to the grass type. Not as many for this one, and it's definitely gonna be Exeggutor. Then on to the electric type. I'm not the biggest Pikachu fan, so that's not my favorite here. Not the biggest Zapdos fan either, so I think it'll probably have to go to Magneton. And moving to the ice type, not very many options at all, just 5. Don't like Dugong, don't like Jinx, do like Lapras and Cloyster, but I think I'll have to give the edge to Articuno. Now to the fighting type. I don't really have many attachments to the fighting type Pokemon in Gen 1, but probably Poliwrath if I had to pick one. And the poison type. Now there's a lot of poison types in Gen 1, which means there's so many options to pick from, but I think my favorite is pretty clear cut from this one. It's not Golbat. It is, yeah, definitely Gengar. Gengar is one of my favorite Pokemon, and it just happens to be the best option from poison. The ground type. This one probably also has a clear favorite. I do like Marowak and Sandslash and Nidoking, but I think I'll have to give it to Dugtrio. And there's the flying type. This type has a lot of the same options as before, but in this video I'm going to try to pick different ones for every category if possible. So for this category, it's probably between Gyarados and Aerodactyl. And I think that I like Gyarados more. Brings us to the psychic type. This one is probably between Alakazam and Mewtwo, because I don't really like the Drowsy line. I don't really like Mr. Mime, Jinx, Mew, Slowpoke, or Slowbro, and Exeggutor I've already done. So between Alakazam and Mewtwo, it's gonna be Alakazam. And then the bug type. Not very many notable options here, but my clear-cut favorite is definitely Beedrill, because it's the most fierce looking, and the bugs don't really look all that cute. And then there's the rock type. And the rock type Pokemon are pretty good here, and clearly since I didn't choose Aerodactyl earlier, I'll choose it here. And then we have the ghost type Pokemon, where there's only 3 options. Maybe with poison type I select a different one so I can have Gengar here. Yeah, let's do that. I'll do Tentacruel here and Gengar there, just to spice up the variety. Then there's the dragon type. There's only 3 options, but out of the 3, my favorite is Dragonair. Just because I don't really like Dragonite's design all that much. I usually like my dragon types to either be cute or fierce, and it doesn't look like either. It just looks goofy. But there are no dark types in the first gen, but I guess I'll go with the substitute doll. And steel types, I've already done Magneton, so I'll do Magnemite, I guess. And then we have the fairy type, which there was also none in Gen 1, but a few Pokemon gained it. And I don't like the Clefable or Wigglytuff line, so I guess I'll pick Mr. Mime. And then now for my favorite starter. It is Blastoise. Favorite gimmick form, it doesn't really matter to me here. I'll just pick the G-Max Gengar because that one's the funniest. My favorite legendary is definitely Articuno, and my favorite from the gen will have the favorite be Gengar. I don't really have too many attachments to the first generation of Pokemon since I've never played an actual game from Gen 1, but I guess Gengar is my favorite there. So then moving on to Generation 2 in Johto. The normal type has a few funny options, but I would say either between Porygon 2, Furret, and Ursaring. Probably would be Ursaring for the most options. And the fire type, this one is actually quite difficult because I really like Cyndaquil and Typhlosion. Slugma is funny. Cargo is pretty interesting for me because I actually like the Cargo. And then there's Houndoom. The others I don't really care too much about. But I think I'll have to pick Typhlosion here. There's the water types. Now this one is a pretty easy choice because most of the water types in this region I don't care too much about, except for Suicune, Octillery, and Mantine. But for sure is between Feraligatr and Totodile. And I think I'd probably put Totodile here. Next we have the grass type, and there's nothing too notable here, so I'll just pick Bayleaf. Because I don't... Meganium's okay, but it's just not as great as Bayleaf. And the rest are not great. Then we have the electric type. The electric type has two clear-cut options between Lantern and Ampharos. Now, usually I would probably pick Lantern in a group like this, but Ampharos is the better option for me. Then moving on to the ice type. There's not very many options, just 5, and I don't like Delibird or Smoochum at all. Piloswine, Swinub, and Weavile is difficult choice, but I'll pick Swinub because I think it's cuter than Piloswine is. Piloswine's okay, and Weavile is not as good as its evolutions. Then we have the fighting types from Gen 2, where there's only 3 options, but clearly my favorite choice is Heracross. Then we have the poison type. And the poison type also only has about 4 options, and this choice is very clear as well. It is definitely Ariados. Then there's the ground type, where it actually has a few good options. I've already used Swinub, so I won't pick that again, even though I probably would pick it here. So it's between Wooper, Quagsire, Donphan, and Steelix. Now Steelix I don't think I'll pick here because maybe that'll be in the steel type category. And Donphan and Quagsire and Wooper are interesting options, but I feel like I have more attachment to Wooper. He's just a silly little funny guy. Donphan I do have I had a lot of time with early in my life, but Wooper is the better option. Then there's flying type in Gen 2, and the options aren't that great to pick from. I would probably pick one of the 2 legendaries here, or Skarmory, because I'm not going to pick Crobat. I don't really like its design all that much. And Mantine, I don't think it shapes up to the rest. So between the 3, I would probably pick Ho-Oh. And then we have the psychic type, where all these unknowns that I will not be picking because I will be picking Lugia. So I have both the legendaries back to back here. And there's the bug type, and there is the same option with Ariados, but I've already picked it. And I've already picked Heracross as well. Yanma is not as cool for me. I'd rather have it be Yan Mega. Shuckle is funny and Fortress is great, but I'll have to pick Caesar because it's definitely the coolest of the options. Then we have the rock types, where there's two clear options between Magcargo and Tyranitar, but for sure is Tyranitar. And then there's the ghost type, where there's only one option, which is Misdreavus, and I don't even like Misdreavus, so I wish I could pick nothing, but I'll have to pick Misdreavus here. Then we have the dragon type, where there's also only one option with Kingdra, but that's actually a good option, so I will take that. Then we have the introduction of the dark type, and I've already used Tyranitar, so I won't use it again. So it would be between Houndoom and Umbreon, which is pretty close for me, but I would give the slight edge to Houndoom because I think it's much cooler of a Pokemon. So then we have these steel types, and I've already used Caesar, and I think Steelix is better than Skarmory, so I'll pick Steelix here. Now, for the fairy types, it's mostly babies, and then the actual debate is between Azumarill and Granbull, and I think I'll pick Azumarill because Granbull I have no real attachment to, but I did have some attachment to Azumarill. My favorite starter is Feraligatr, pretty close with Typhlosion. I usually could go either way between the two, but I do like some crocodile alligator action. Then my favorite Giving form doesn't really matter too much to me. I'll just pick Mega Steelix. Then for the legendary, it's actually not one of the two of the box art legendaries. It'll actually be one of the dogs, being Suicune or Suicune. And the favorite from the generation is definitely going to be Feraligatr. Now for my favorite generation of Pokemon, we have Hoenn in Gen 3. And the normal type Pokemon are first up, and we already have a complicated debate here. It's between Slaking and Swallow, and Linoone would be a close third. But Swallow I've used on many playthrough teams in Hoenn before, so that's why I would get that there. But Slaking is a very cool Pokemon, and I usually like to have that Pokemon available on teams, and I think its design is overall pretty cool, but I think I'll have to give the edge to Swallow here. I've just used it more times, and I think it's just slightly overall better for me. Then we have the fire type Pokemon, where the options are between Blaziken, Camerupt, and Torkoal. Torkoal is definitely the distant third, but between Camerupt and Blaziken, I've used Camerupt more, but I do like Blaziken's design better. We can move on to the water type, where we get my favorite Pokemon in the series, even though all of these water types are stacked between the Swampert line, the Ludicolo line, Sharpedo line, Wailord line, Whiscash line, Crawdaunt line, Milotic, Walrein, and Kyogre are all some of my favorite Pokemon. But I will give it to my favorite Pokemon here, Mudkip. And we have the grass type Pokemon, and this one is actually pretty difficult as well, because of these options. I'm not sure between Sceptile, Ludicolo, Shiftry, Breloom, Cacturne, Tropius, and Cradily. All of these are great options, but I think I'd have to give the edge to Sceptile. All three of the starters in Hoenn are like the best starters you could possibly choose, and I've used all three before. Next is the electric type. This is a very easy one though, because it's just between Manectric and Plusle-Minun, and it is clearly Manectric, because I've used that Pokemon many times on teams as well. Next is the ice type, and this one is actually not too difficult. It would just be between Spheal, Glalie, and Walrein, and I think I'll have to pick Spheal because I'm more a fan of the cute than the fierce in this one. Then for the fighting type, since I've already picked Blaziken, I will go with Breloom because I've used that on a few teams before, and Hariyama I haven't used as much, but I still enjoy having Hariyama in playthroughs. Next is the poison type, and this one is pretty easy to choose between Gulpin, Swalot, and Seviper. because I don't really like Dustox or Roselia. Now I think Gulpin would be a funny choice here, but I'll pick design is slightly better, and Seviper would be a really close like third choice, because I think it's a really cool design, but I just have never like used it before or ever had much experience with it. Next is the ground type, and I've already chosen Mudkip, but I will pick Swampert here, even though we have Camerupt, Groudon, Flygon, Whiscash, and Claydol. I will still pick Swampert here. Gotta make sure both of them are on the list because those are my two favorite Pokemon. Next is the flying type, and I've already used Swellow, so I won't do that again. Ninjask, Tropius, Altaria, or Salamence here. Now this is a tough choice for me between Altaria and Salamence. I've used Altaria way more than I've used Salamence, but I do like Salamance's design better, so I will pick it here. Obviously there's Rayquaza, but I'll save that for later because I don't want to pick it twice. Then we have the Psychic type with Gardevoir, Claydol, Metagross, the Latios, Deoxys, and Jirachi are all great options, but I think I'd have to give the edge to Metagross here. This is my favorite pseudo-legendary, I'm pretty sure, so it makes perfect sense to why it's here. Then we have the Bug-type Pokemon. This one is definitely between Armaldo, Ninjask, and Shedinja. I think I'll have to go to Ninjask though, because I've used that way more than the other two. Armaldo's definitely second, and then Shedinja in third, because that one's a pretty funny Pokemon to use. Armaldo, I've just never gotten to use it before, because I usually don't use the fossil Pokemon in playthroughs. And then next we have the Rock type from Gen 3, and this one is pretty difficult between Cradilly and Aggron. Armaldo's there too, but I think I'll have to go with Aggron. I love Aggron's design, and I wish it was better so I could use it more. Next is the Ghost types, and this is would be a pretty hard choice if there wasn't Banette. Now Banette has been more of a recent upcoming. I've used it in a lot more playthroughs recently than I did before. I just like its design, and it's a lot more powerful than most people think. Then we have the Dragon types with a lot of good options with Flygon, Altaria, Salamence, Rayquaza, and then the Latias. I really want to pick Flygon or Altaria here, but I think I will have to pick Rayquaza unless I want to put... No, I have to put Rayquaza on this list. Rayquaza is my second favorite legendary, just behind Kyogre, so I have to include it on this list somewhere. Now I wish I could include Altaria and Flygon, but unfortunately Gen 3 is just too stacked to include it. We have the Dark types from Generation 3, and this is definitely between Sharpedo and Cacturne, but I love Sharpedo more. Sharks are generally my favorite types of animals, and Sharpedo is a great representative of the animal. Next is the Steel type, and I've already chosen Aggron and Metagross, so I might need to change that up. Yes, let's see, where can I fit in? I think we'll keep Metagross on Psychic, even though Gardevoir is close second. But we'll move Aggron off, and I guess we'll include Armaldo on this list. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll put Aggron in the Steel type, because I don't want to repeat. Then we'll have Fairy, and that's definitely Gardevoir's spot. Starter, 100% Mudkip. Gimmick form doesn't really matter too much to me. It would probably be one of the 3 primal ones, and of those I'd probably have to pick Rayquaza. Legendary wise, Kyogre, and my favorite is Mudkip. So that was my favorite generation of Pokemon, so that's why that was so tough for me. Now on to Gen 4, where I haven't really played any games from it before, but I think I'll still have some preferences here. Starting with the normal type, it's definitely gonna be Bidoof with Porygon-Z in second. Definitely. Bidoof is just so funny to me. I don't know why. And it's definitely one of the better designs. Staraptor would probably be third. Not really a fan of a lot of these Pokemon that other people are. We have the fire type, and it's between Infernape and I guess Magmortar, but it's not really much of a contest. It's definitely Infernape. That would be my starter of choice in this region, so it makes sense. Then we have the water types, and I would probably pick between Empoleon or Gastrodon. Yeah, for sure. I would say Empoleon right now. In the past, I would probably pick Gastrodon, but I think I've started to grow, or Empoleon started to grow on me, so I'll pick Empoleon. Then we have the grass types. Now, I think it might be a clean sweep for the starters here. It would be between Torterra or Abomasnow, and it's definitely Torterra. So a clean sweep for the Gen 4 starters, just as it was with the last two generations, actually. I don't know why Gen 1 was quite lacking in starters for me, I guess. Then we move on to the electric types, and this one is definitely Magnezone. Next would probably be Electivire. I don't really have too much of an addiction to Luxray as some people do. I'm just not really a fan of it. But Magnezone for sure here. Then we have the ice type, and this one is actually a very tough decision. All of these options besides Rotom I actually love. Glaceon is probably my second favorite evolution. Weavile is really good. Frostlass and Abomasnow are really, really good. And then we have the best of the list, which is definitely Mamoswine. That's probably one of my favorite Pokemon right there with Mamoswine. Definitely top like 20. But then we have the fighting types, and we've already used Infernape, so I think it's between Toxicroak and Gallade, because I don't really like Lucario too much. For some reason I just don't like the vibe with that one. And between these two, I'm pretty sure I would pick Gallade. We'll go to Poison, and this one's definitely between Skuntank and Drapion, because Toxicroak just doesn't quite measure up to the two. And it's definitely going to be Skuntank, because Drapion I've never really used too much. I just thought its design was cool, but Skuntank I have. Then we go to ground type, and this one is probably going to have to be Garchomp. I really, really like Garchomp, and I've already used Mamoswine. That would go ahead of it, but obviously there's still some good options here, like Torterra, Rhyperior, Hippowdon, and Gliscor are still good options. But I think I just like Garchomp more than the rest. Alas, we move on to flying, and this one is definitely between Yanmega and Gliscor, where I'm going to have to pick Yanmega. Now, Yanmega is actually like another one of my top favorite Pokemon. Gliscor is just kind of there. Never used it before, but Yanmega I have, and I really like its design and everything. It just looks so fierce, whereas Gliscor is not as much, so I pick Yanmega. Then we have the Psychic type, which is gonna definitely have to be Bronzong, because I've already used, no, maybe not. I think I'll actually pick Cresselia here, because Gallade I've already used, so I can't use that again, but Bronzong is a decent option, but I actually like Cresselia. It's one of my favorite mythics, and I have used it before, like in Legends Arceus. So, and I think it's a pretty neat Pokemon. We have the bug types, and the bug types here are actually not great, so I'm actually going to choose Gliscor here and Yanmega here. Now we move on to the rock type, and the rock type has not the greatest options, but I do like Rampardos, Bastiodon, Rhyperior, and Probopass to a good amount. But I think I'll have to pick Probopass because it's the best option, because Rampardos and Bastiodon are like pretty neutral options for me. I like them. Never used them before. I think they're okay, and Rhyperior I have had some relations with before, but the design just doesn't really catch me as much as Probopass does, because it's a funny design and I like to nose pass. Then we move on to the Ghost type, where we have Frostlass versus Dusknoir, and this one's definitely going to go to Dusknoir, because Frostlass is okay, but Dusknoir I've actually had the pleasure of using before. Then we move on to the Dragon types, which actual best option here is definitely Garchomp. I didn't realize I don't really like Dialga, Giratina, or Palkia that much. So I think I'll actually pick Garchomp here and go back and put in Hippowdon. Yeah, between this would be Hippowdon and Gastrodon, since I've already used the other ones. So I guess Hippowdon gets a spot on the list, which is quite surprising, but I just like Garchomp. Alright, so we move on from the Dragon type to the Dark type in Gen 4. And I've already used Skuntank. Contrary to popular belief, instead of choosing Weavile or Drapion here, I'll actually choose Darkrai. I almost forgot its name there for a second. But Darkrai is pretty interesting. He was the whole plot point of the second Pokepark. So I actually grew attached to him quite a bit, and he's one of my favorite mythicals. But next we have the Steel type, which we've already used Magnezone, we've already used Probopass, and Empoleon. So this one's gonna have to go to Bronzong then. Never thought I'd be picking Bronzong on this list, but it's my only real option here. Then we have the Fairy type, and I hate Mime Jr., and Togekiss is actually a good option, so I'll pick that. Next we have the favorite starter, and it's definitely Infernape, although the other two are quite solid options. Favorite gimmick form between these options is Mega Abomasnow, and the favorite legendary is definitely, actually, I'm not very confident on this one. Gen 4, I just don't really have too much attachment to the legendaries. I guess since I've already used Cresselia and Darkrai, I'll go Giratina here. Specifically the land one, because that one's the better of the choices. But then the favorite Pokemon from the generation is quite tough for me, but I will pick Mamoswine. Like I said, Mamoswine's one of my favorite Pokemon, and he is going to be my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon here today. Then we move on to the Unova region in Gen 5. Now, the normal types in this generation are quite interesting. I don't know what these options are down here. Interesting, but the normal type in this one is definitely going to be Bouffalant. This is all because of Pokepark. I hate Watchog. I love Stoutland, but it can't work here, and Pheasant I don't like. Minccino line, Deerling line, don't like any of those. So definitely between Bouffalant and Braviary, and Bouffalant just meant more to me, I guess, in Pokepark 2. But then we move on to the Fire type, and I'm not really too big of a fan of the starter line here, so we're actually going to have a non-fire starter here. And who it is definitely going to be between Darmanitan, Chandelure, and Volcarona. But definitely Chandelure takes the cake here. That's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and it just outclasses the other two. Next is the Water type, and I'm not really a fan of Samurott either here, but that means it's either between Caracosta and Seismitoad, and I have to pick Seismitoad because of its relation to Pokepark 2. He would always block your path, and he was quite a nuisance, but he was a pretty funny Pokemon to have, and it was a lot of fun trying to beat him in the game. Then we have the Grass type, and this one I might actually pick the starter on. Nah, never mind. It's actually between Among Us and Ferrothorn. And I think I'll pick Ferrothorn. I actually love Ferrothorn's design. It was in Pokepark too, but it wasn't too much of an influence from that. But the other grass Pokemon just aren't as prevalent for me. Next we have the electric type, where it's definitely a tougher choice than I thought between Electros, Galvantula, and Zebstrika. I think I can rule out Zebstrika, but Galvantula or Electros, I've used both pretty much equally, but I think I'll use Galvantula. Because I used Galvantula in Gen 9 DLC, and I really liked using it there, and I think it's pretty fun Pokemon to have. It was in Pokepark 2 as well, other than Electros, so it was actually quite nice there. I would pick Joltik almost above Galvantula actually, because it's so cute, but I like Galvantula's design. Next we have the Ice type, and this one's a pretty clear choice for me because I don't really like the Vanillite line. Cryogonal's okay, but it's definitely Beartic. I love Beartic, especially from the Pokepark 2 version. Then we have the Fighting type, where I'm definitely going to have to pick Conkeldurr here, because the rest of the options don't really intrigue me too much. And Conkeldurr was like a mini boss in Pokepark 2. Then we have the Poison type between Scolipede and Garbodor. And it's definitely going to be, Scolipede. Because the other ones, they just really haven't done too much for me. Then we have the Ground type, and this one is a surefire choice to be Crocodile. And Crocodile is definitely the clear choice, but Seismitoad, Excadrill, Sandile, and Golurk are still good options as well. I really like Golurk, but I just can't pick it here, because Crocodile is like one of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I just really like alligators and crocodiles. Then we have the Flying type. Clear-cut favorite is definitely Archeops. No debating that, the others don't even come close to it. Then we have the Psychic type, and this choice is quite difficult because I don't really have too much attachment to any of these. I have used Gothitelle before. It was in Pokepark 2, same with Sigilyph, Musharna, and Reuniclus were all vital parts of that game, same with Victini. But I really like Behemoth for some reason. I can't say why, but I just really like Behemoth. Then we have the Bug type, and I've already used Scolipede and Galvantula, but luckily there's a perfect choice in Volcarona. I'm glad I get to pick it because it's definitely one of my favorite bugs. And without being able to pick the other options, I wouldn't be able to pick it. Crustle is definitely second though. Then we have the Rock type, and I've already used Archeops, so this is definitely Gigalith's spot. And Gigalith is a very cool looking Pokemon with a very cool looking shiny, and I think it is definitely a better choice than the rest. Next we have the Ghost type, and this is where I'll pick Golurk, because I've already used Chandelure, so we got that covered. Cofagrigus is a nice pick, but definitely Golurk. That is another one of my favorite Pokemon. But next is the Dragon type, and this one is actually a tougher decision than I thought. It's definitely between Zekrom, Hydreigon, and Haxorus, plus Druddigon, I guess. But I think I'd have to give it to Hydreigon. Now, I would probably pick Zekrom here, but that's going to go in the favorite legendary. And Hydreigon, I just have always liked it, except for the way it evolves because it takes forever. But that's okay because it has a really cool design. Next we have the Dark types, and we've already used Crocodile, so I can't use that again. We've already used Hydreigon, so I can't use that either. I want to pick Sandile or Liepard here, but it might just have to be... This is a tough decision. All the rest of the options are pretty mid. Is there any way I can change the ground type here to Excadrill? Nah, I don't want to do that. We'll just stick with Sandile, because he's cute, and the other options I don't feel as attached to. Then we have the steel type, where we can include Kling, which is actually my favorite steel type in the series, which is pretty surprising to most people. Metagross would definitely be second, but Kling was actually had a very fun mission in Pokepark 2, and I think its design is really cool looking, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really like it. But then we have the fairy type, and there's only two options, so Whimsicott will do. Favorite starter is for sure gonna be between Emboar or Superior, so I'll pick Superior, but in a sense, either one is fine. Then we have the favorite gimmick form, and I do only have two options here that are actual options, and I hate Mega Audino, so we will choose the Trash Heap Garborder. Good thing Garborder can get on this list somewhere. Then we have the favorite legendary, and this one is definitely Zekrom, and the favorite from the generation is a tough choice between Chandelure and Krookodile. But I think I'll have to pick Krookodile here. So right now we have not too much variety with two solo water types, a ghost, and then two ground types, but I'm sure we'll have enough variety by the end. Because now we're moving on to Gen 6, which is probably my second or third favorite generation of Pokemon. But we start off with the normal types, and not the greatest choices, but we have Heliolisk versus Pyroar, and it's definitely going to be Pyroar for me. Then we have the fire types, and this one, we're not going to pick any of the Megas for this, because that seems like a cop-out, and we'll definitely be picking Talonflame, because that's probably my favorite regional bird, and Delphox just isn't for me. Water type, though, we will definitely be choosing Greninja. Barbaracle is second, and then Clawitzer in third, because those are still good options. Same with just picking Froakie, but Greninja is by far my favorite starter from this region, and probably one of my favorite Pokemon. Then we have grass types. Definitely not going to be Chestnut, and it's for sure going to be Trevenant. I actually really like Trevenant as a Pokemon, and in Pokemon Unite I did play him at one point. But alas, it's just the best choice since there is nothing really better to choose from. I would pick Mega Sceptile if I could, but I'm not going to do that. Then we have the electric type with just 3 choices pretty much, and it's definitely Heliolisk. Good that we can include it on this list somewhere, because I don't really like Dedenne. The Pika clones just usually don't attract me. But next we have the ice type, where it is definitely between Avalugg and Aurorus, but I will be picking Aurorus because I think it's one of the better fossil Pokemon from the series. Obviously its type sucks, but it is a pretty interesting looking Pokemon, and I actually like most of the fossils. Avalugg definitely in a close second though. Next we have the fighting type, and we have just 4 options here between Chestnut, Pangoro, and Hawlucha, but this is probably going to have to be Pangoro. I know I used to use Chestnut in Pokerogue, but I'm pretty sure Pangoro would have to be my favorite choice here. Next we have the poison type, and it's just between Skrelp and Dragalge, but Dragalge is a pretty good Pokemon, so I will take it. Next we have the ground type, and this one also only has 2 options, so I guess I'll pick Zygarde. Don't really like Diggersby. Then for flying, I will not be picking any of these Vivillon variations. I'll pick between the top. And since I've already used Talonflame, it'll have to be between Noivern and Yveltal. And Noivern is a really good option here, but I love Yveltal. Then we have the Psychic type, and the options are not too good. I guess it'll have to be Delphox here. I would pick Malamar in most situations because I don't like Hoopa, but Delphox is okay compared to the rest. Then the rock type is by far Tyrantrum. This will probably be my favorite Pokemon in the region, by far. I love dinosaurs. It's definitely the best fossil. Next, we definitely have Aegislash in the ghost type. I've already used Trevenant, but I would still pick Aegislash. I think I like the shield form more though. Yeah, Aegislash is a really cool Pokemon. I haven't had the privilege of using it before though. Then we have the Dragon type. I've already picked most of these Pokemon, so Noivern can have a spot on this list. And that's alright. Unless there's a better Pokemon for the rock. Actually, no. We'll include Barbaracle on the list and we'll put Tyrantrum and Dragon Tank. Sorry, Noivern, you don't get a spot on the list. But Barbaracle is cooler. Then we have the Dark type, and I've already used all of these options, so I guess... do I just put Malamar on here then? No. Let's include Clawitzer on the water, and then we'll put Greninja in Dark. Just because I feel like Clawitzer should have a place on this, since I do have some experience with it. Then we have the Steel type of the region. We've already used Aegislash, but I am not picking Klefki, so we're going to use the other Aegislash form. Sorry if I'm not abiding by the rules, but that's just what's going to happen when there's only Klefki available. I could pick... Fine, I'll pick Honedge. But for Fairy type, I'll have to pick Sylveon. I'm not the biggest... No, never mind. I forgot we have Xerneas. Xerneas is a good legendary as well, but I think I'm actually going to pick Yveltal over it, even though I used to like Xerneas more. Favorite starter, definitely Greninja. Favorite gimmick form out of only this gen's Pokemon. Where are the ones from this gen? It doesn't give me the option unless there's just... Apparently there's just no options from here. Where is there Ash Greninja on here? There's not Ash Greninja on here. So I guess I'll just pick a Diancie. Oh well. You know what? Never mind. This is my video. We're gonna pick Primal Kyogre. I just remember I didn't include Groudon on all of Gen 3. That's fascinating. Groudon's like my second favorite or third favorite legendary, so that's wild. Then we have the legendaries, and I will pick... It would definitely be between Yveltal and Xerneas, but I'll pick Yveltal here. Then the favorite is definitely Tyrantrum, with Greninja being a close second. But we move on to Gen 7. Now, Gen 7 is notorious probably for having some of the best highs and some of the best lows in the Pokemon series. But starting off with the normal type, we definitely will start with Toucannon. I have played the Sun and Moon series, and I have had the option to use Toucannon, and I just didn't really try to use it too much. I used it one time, and I didn't really like it. But the other Pokemon I don't have any attachment to. Maybe Drampa a little bit. But yeah, still Toucannon. Fire types... I would normally say Alolan Marowak, but I'm going to go Litten. I'm going to go Litten because that was my chosen starter. For the water type Pokemon, I'm not going to go Ash Greninja. Golisopod and Toxapex are cool, but I'm going to have to go Primarina. Now, I didn't like Primarina originally, but after I used it in a playthrough, I actually grew to really like it. Next is the grass types, and this one is definitely Decidueye. All three of the starters sweep the board again for this one. But Sarina I've used before and I really like it. Delmise is interesting as well, and Kartana is one of the better Ultra Vs. Next is the electric type. We're not going to pick one of the Pikachus, and we're definitely going to pick Vikavolt. I've used a Vikavolt before, and I think it's a really awesome Pokemon, and the other options just aren't as strong here. Then that moves us to the ice type, where we have a few good options here. Now, unlike most people, I actually do like Crabominable, but I will be picking Alolan Sandslash only because I've used it before. No, never mind. I'm gonna use Alolan Ninetales actually. I'm going to put Alolan Ninetales on here because I really like its design, but I never had the chance to use it. I used Alolan Sandslash, so we'll put that at a close second. But Alolan Ninetales just has an incredible design. We move on to the fighting type, where it's definitely going to be Combo because I've used it before, and the rest of the options aren't nearly as close. And I think it's actually one of the better pseudo-legendaries in this series. Then we have the poison type, where I guess I'll pick Alolan Muck here. I feel like I would normally pick Salazzle, but Alolan Muck's design just really catches my eye every time I see it. And it has a pretty funky ability, and its design is pretty cool. I almost picked Muck for poison up in Gen 1, so I think it's fitting he gets a slot down here in Gen 7. Then we move on to the ground type, where it's probably going to have to be Palisand here. Close second is definitely going to be Dugtrio, but I used Palisand on my playthrough team originally, and I think its design is okay. Competitively, not the greatest, but I think it's pretty fun, and in the anime, it was an interesting Pokemon to see. Then we have the flying type, where the options are quite interesting because it's mostly just Miniors and Oricorios, and I've already used Toucanon. So surprisingly here, I think I see myself choosing the Oricorio Ghost form. Because I'm not going to pick either or any of these Pokemon in the top row and no Miniors, I think I just have to pick a Oricorio line. Celesteela would probably be my next pick. Then we have the Psychic type Pokemon, and it's gonna have to be a legendary here, and my favorite legendary from this region is Lunala, so I'll pick it here. Really no contest between the rest. Then we have the bug type, and I've already used Vikavolt, so this is between Araquanid and Glycopod, and I've used Araquanid before and I haven't used Glycopod, so that's where I will draw the line and pick Araquanid. Next is the rock type Pokemon, and I'm thinking we're gonna go with, I don't really want to pick any of the Lycanrocs or the Miniors, so I think I'll just have to go, I guess I'll go with the Lycanroc, because the Ultra Beast choices aren't the greatest here, and I don't really like Alolan Golem, so we'll pick, what is this, Midday Lycanroc? Yeah. And so I've already used, for the ghost type, I've already used Decidueye, Oricorio, Palisand, Lunala, but I have not picked Alolan Marowak, which was on my playthrough team. So I think it was deserving of a spot here. Then we have the dragon type, and I've already used Kamao, so I will pick an Ultra Beast here, and I will pick Guzzlord. Now, Guzzlord's primarily on here from Pokemon Pocket and from the TCG, because the rest of the options, I have really no attachment to, but Guzzlord I do. Then we have the dark type, and I have not picked Incineroar yet, so I'll pick him. Because I'm not going to pick Mug again, I'm not going to pick Guzzlord, and I don't like the other two Alolan versions, so I will be picking Incineroar. Steel type, I will go with Solgaleo. I like Solgaleo, but Lunala is much better in my opinion. And the rest of the options are not the greatest. Oh, but there is Alolan Sandslash. No, I think I'll stay with Solgaleo. Well, Alolan Sandslash is a close second. Then we have the Fairy type, and I've already used Primarina, so I can't use that again. And I've already used Alolan Ninetales as well. I guess we'll go Tapu Fini. Now, Tapu Fini is my favorite of the Tapus. Second would probably be Koko, but there's just not many options left, so I think Tapu Fini will get a place on this list. Next we have the favorite starter, and my favorite starter is Litten. And then we have the gimmick form, probably be Ultra Necrozma because that's a really cool gimmick form. Then favorite legendary is Lunala, and favorite Pokemon from the region is actually quite difficult to pick. I guess I'll pick Lunala. Next up is Gen 8, and I have played Generation 8 a few times, I think twice. But starting off with the normal types, I don't feel like... I'll include the Legends Arceus stuff here, so I will pick Ursaluna. Definitely the best option, because I don't really like any of the actual ones from Gen 8, so I will be picking Ursaluna. Then we have the Fire type, and I'm going to have to choose another Legends Arceus Pokemon here again with Hisuian Typhlosion. Next up is definitely Centiskorch, but Hisuian Typhlosion was my starter of choice in Arceus. I did use Centiskorch on my playthrough team in Gen 8, so I mean it's a close race, but Hisuian Typhlosion definitely takes the cake. Then for the Water type, I'm guessing it's going to be Basculegion, and that's what it is. Barrascuda would probably be second here. So I don't really like Inteleon, and Dreadnought is okay, but Barrascuda would be second because I have used it before on a playthrough team. But Basculegion was on my Legends Arceus original playthrough team, and it was really fun there. I did forget about Hisuian Samurott, that's another good option, but Basculegion definitely is the best option for me here. Then we have the Grass type, where it's going to be another Hisuian Pokemon. We have Hisuian Lilligant, which was also on my playthrough team. Normally I'd probably pick Flapple or Appleton here, or Grookey, because I'm not really the biggest fan of Rillaboom. I think he looks pretty dumb. But Hisuian Lilligant was actually a really fun member of the team that I had in Legends Arceus. Oh yeah, and Hisuian Decidueye. Yeah, a lot of good options for the Grass type here, but definitely Hisuian Lilligant. Then for the Electric type, we have Toxtricity in the low-key form. There's not really that many great options for this one. I guess some people like Arctozolt and Arctobolt? I forgot. But yeah, definitely the best option here, because I've actually used Toxtricity before. Then for the Ice type, it's 100% going to go to Frostmoth, because that was on my original Sword and Shield playthrough team, and never really had too much to do with Calyrex or Avalugg. I mean, Galarian Darmanitan is high up there too, but Frostmoth is near and dear to my heart because of the playthrough team. Oh, and there's Snom too. I would pick that if there was no Frostmoth option. And we move on to the Fighting type, where there's actually quite a few tough options here. Grapploct is a good option, Phalanx is a good option, Zamazenta is a good option, so is Sneasler, so is Hisuian Zapdos. And I've already used Hisuian Lilligant, and there's Hisuian Decidueye. Now this is a tough choice, but I think I can rule out Phalanx, Zamazenta, and Sneasler. So between Grapploct and Hisuian Decidueye, I think I'll have to pick Grapploct. Now I wish this Pokemon was better so I could use it, but I really like its design, and I think it should have been a water fighting type, as most people would say. And Hisuian Decidueye I don't really have too much attachment to, but I really liked its design as well. Then we have the Poison type, and I've already used Toxtricity, but we have a clear number 2 choice in Overquill. This was on my playthrough team in Legends Arceus, and if I had to do it again, I would pick it again, because it is a fun Pokemon to use, and it's actually a pretty good design, and a much needed evolution to Quillfish. We have the Ground type, and this one I've already used Ursaluna on, so I'll pick Sandaconda, but it's a decent Pokemon. For these options, it'll have to do. Then we have the Flying types, and this is a tougher choice than I thought. Not the biggest fan of Corviknight, but it's definitely a choice. Then we have Galarian Articuno, Hisuian. We have all the Galarian birds, and then we have Hisuian Braviary as well. I did use Hisuian Braviary at once, but I think I'll actually opt into picking Corviknight here, because Corviknight is actually a really cool Pokemon, and Rookie D was my first shiny in that game, So that was pretty cool for me. Or actually, no, Rookidee was my first shiny in Scarlet and Violet. Hisuian Braviary is a close second, and then the 3 legendary bird variants are also pretty close too. I just really like Corviknight's design, and I think it's a really cool bird. Probably one of the best regional birds there is. Then we have the Psychic type, and this one can go to Hisuian Braviary. That's perfect. Orbeetle is interesting, but I definitely like Hisuian Braviary more. We also have Calyrex Shadow Rider, but that Pokemon just makes me angry every time I play against it in competitive battles, so instead we'll just pick Hisuian Braviary. Then we have the Bug type, and finally we can put in Centiskorch. I kind of just want to put the G-Max version in just to make it look cooler, but we'll just go with the normal. Centiskorch is a really cool Pokemon. I definitely used Centiskorch on a team before, and it was really fun having, and I just really like the design more than its competitive use, because it's just a cool hot fire centipede. But then we move on to the Rock type, and it's gonna have to be between Kleavor and Hisuian Arcanine, and I think I'll pick Hisuian Arcanine here. Both are really cool options, but Kleavor is just slightly less here. And we have the Ghost type, and I've already used Basculegion and Hisuian Typhlosion, so guess what? We have Dragapult. Now, obviously I could choose Spectrier or Hisuian Zoroark, but I kind of want to throw up a newer option and put in Dragapult. I had one on my playthrough team for Sword and Shield, and it was really awesome, fun, and strong. We had the Dragon type, and I will have to pick Hisuian Goodra here. Sorry about that. Hisuian Goodra here, and it's definitely because it was on my Legends Arceus playthrough team, and I've already used Dragapult, so we can't pick that. And Hisuian Goodra is a fun, good-looking Pokemon that was actually pretty strong in the game. And then we move on to the Dark type, where I've already used Overquill, so I think I'll actually pick Grimmsnarl here. I'm pretty sure Grimmsnarl is my favorite fairy type though, so I think I'll have to check that first. Yeah, so actually we'll use Grimmsnarl in the favorite fairy, and then we'll put in Hisuian Samurott here. And I think that makes it work well because I really like Hisuian Samurott's design. I just never used it because I always thought Hisuian Typhlosion was cooler. And Grimmsnarl is probably my favorite fairy Pokemon that isn't legendary. I'll just pick Zamazenta here. I played on Sword, but I think I like Zamazenta more now than I did before. So that's how I'll pick it here. Then we have favorite starter, Hisuian Typhlosion. Of all the gimmick forms, Hisuian Typhlosion. And then we have I think Hisuian Typhlosion is going to be here again. Yeah. But then we have favorite legendary. Favorite legendary is going to be Spectrier. So now we move on to the last generation of Pokemon Gen 9, which I probably have the most hours logged into, other than maybe Generation 3. So we'll move on to Generation 9, where I know I will have a lot of favorites in this. And starting off with the normal type, it's definitely going to be Blood Moon Ursaluna, because I used that in the DLC. And we also have Arboliva, which I actually used on my playthrough team, which was pretty fun too. We'll see if it makes an appearance in Grass. But now we have the Fire type Pokemon, and this one is actually pretty tough between Iron Moth, Skeledirge, Chi-Yu, and Ceruledge. But if I had to pick just one, it's going to have to be the starter of Skeledirge. That was my desired starter Pokemon of the series. So, of all these fire types, only 2 of them were non-starters. Then we move on to Generation 9 water types, and I don't like Quackleval. So I think it would be between Walking Wake and Dondozo. Now, I did use Dondozo on my playthrough team originally, but I think I like Walking Wake more. Something about Suicune just really hits with me. I really like the blues that it has, and now it's just a dinosaur. But then we have the grass type. Don't like Meowscarada. Ogerpon is interesting, but between all of these options, it would have to be between Toedscruel, Arboliva, and Hydrapple. Hydrapple I never use, but Toedscruel and Arboliva I did. Now I did catch a shiny Toedscruel and not an Arboliva, so I will be picking Toedscruel. Then we have the electric types, and this one is clear cut. No, never mind, it's not clear cut. It's between Iron Hands, Kilowattrel, and Iron Thorns. And I will pick Kilowattrel because Hariyama is really only a favorite because of its viability, and Iron Thorns is cool, but it's not a great Pokemon. Kilowattrel was on my original playthrough team, so that's why I will be picking it here. Then we have the Ice type, and this is for sure Baxcalibur with Chien-Pao in second. Baxcalibur is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and this is evident in my playthrough team, which it was on, and like pretty much any TCG I play has Baxcalibur in the deck. And I really like its design. It's kind of like Tyranitar, but just cooler. Then we have the fighting type, and this time I can put Iron Hands. Now Annihilate is a good option too, but Iron Hands I do like more. Crydon also has grown on me too. Next we have the poison type, and this is for sure, for a fact, Clodsire. Clodsire is probably going to go down as one of my top 10 or 15 Pokemon because he is so derpy and cute. And the other options just can't measure up. Next option would probably be Iron Moth. Then we have the ground type, and I've already picked Toedscruel and Clodsire and Blood Moon Ursaluna. So actually, let's switch this to Arboliva, and then we'll put Toedscruel here, because that'll make more sense. Then we have the flying type, and we've already used Kilowattrel, so maybe I should switch that up too. Yeah, we'll put Iron Thorns on, and then we'll put Kilowattrel for flying. Now, we're making a lot of changes here, but that's just because Gen 9 has a very select group of Pokemon that I like. And then we have the Psychic type. The Psychic type, I don't really have too many Pokemon I like on here. Fridref is okay, same with Armarouge and Rabsca and Iron Leaves. No, I don't really have too many. I guess I'll pick Armarouge. I like Ceruledge a lot more, but between those Psychic types, Ceruledge is definitely the best. Or Armarouge is definitely the best. But then we have the bug type, and this one is going to go to either Slitherwing or Lokix. Yeah, we'll put Slitherwing on there. I think it's a really nice Pokemon, and since Iron Moth isn't going to get on, we'll put on Slitherwing. Lokix is okay, but I never used one, and I only really like it because it's cool and fierce looking. Then we have the rock type, and this one is going to have to go to Garganacl because I have already used Iron Thorns. Now Garganacl I did use for a little bit. I don't remember if it was on a playthrough team or not, but it's a really cool looking Pokemon and it's pretty decent. But other than that, it's just because I don't really have many better options. Then we have the Ghost type, and we've got to include Ceruledge on here. Now Goldango and Annihilate were good options as well, but Ceruledge is one of my favorites from this generation, so I had to make sure we include it. Dragon type we've already used Baxcalibur for. Is there any way we can change that? Let's see, what do we have for Dark? We have too many options for Dark. Let's do a swap here and a swap here. Now Chien-Pao is my favorite of the Legendary Quartet from Gen 9. And we gotta make sure we include it on this list somewhere, and I feel like it might not be able to work in Dark. So we just swap it around with Baxcalibur and Ice so that we can have both. Then we have Dark type, and I cannot use Chien-Pao, so I will be putting in Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon is definitely my second favorite of the Area Zero Pokemon, I think, Paradox Pokemon. but this might go to King. No, I think we'll put King Gambit and Steel. Yeah, we'll put King Gambit and Steel, just so we have both. King Gambit is definitely the best option in Steel because Bisharp was really cool, but then they made him even cooler when they evolved into King Gambit. Archaludon is another good option too in Steel. But then we have the Fairy type, and we're gonna have to include Iron Valiant because the rest of the options aren't that great. I'm not a Tinkaton fan, not a Screamtail fan. Flutter Mane is okay, but it's just not really my first choice when it comes to Paradox Mons. So we'll go with Iron Valiant. Then we have favorite starter. We'll give that one to Fuecoco because I've already used Skeledirge. Then in alternate form, we'll put Toedscruel. Favorite legendary is gonna be Chien-Pao, and favorite of all is gonna probably be Clodsire. But now that we've compiled the list of all my favorite Pokemon from every generation and every type, now let's get the favorite of all. Favorite normal type is gonna be Ursaluna. Then favorite fire type, we're gonna go. Ooh, this is a tough choice. They're mostly starters. Probably between Blaziken, Hisuian Typhlosion itself, and Chandelure. I think I'll have to do Chandelure. Just because the ghostly fire is so neat to me. But then we have water type. We'll put in Mudkip. No, because Mudkip's going to win 2 of them. What's the best option? Never mind. But then for grass, it's actually a pretty tough choice. I'll go with Sceptile. Favorite electric, Manectric. We're gonna have a lot of Gen 3 in here, I already know it. Ice is gonna be Mamoswine. Fighting is going to be. Ooh, that's a tough choice. It'd be between Conkeldurr and Breloom. We'll pick Breloom. No, we already have too much Gen 3. We'll put Conkeldurr. Yeah, we'll do that. Poison type, Clodsire. Right, yeah. Ground type, we'll do this so we have some. No, it's gotta be Swampert. Then for flying, we have actually not the best options. I guess Salamence. Out of all of these, not their greatest options. Like, I barely like most of these. Then for Psychic, it's gonna be Metagross. For Bug, we're gonna have Centiskorch. Rock will have to be either Tyranitar or Gigalith. We'll do Tyranitar. Then for Ghost, it's gonna be Ceruledge. Dragon is gonna be Rayquaza. Tyrantrum close second. Dark, we need to go with Greninja. Steel, we'll go with Kling. Fairy, we'll have to go with, I guess, either Xerneas or Grimmsnarl here. I guess I'll go Grimmsnarl. No, maybe not. We'll do Xerneas. Then we have favorite starter of all time, Mudkip. Favorite gimmick form, I don't really care, Mega Quaza. Favorite legendary, Kyogre. And then favorite Pokemon of all time is Mudkip. This is my list. These are my favorites of every type. And now let's do the bonus at the bottom. Blue favorite regional bird will be Fletchling, I think. Yeah, Fletchling. Favorite regional mammal, we'll do Bidoof. Favorite regional bug will be, I guess, out of these options, Spinarak. Favorite pseudo legendary would definitely need to be Metagross. Favorite Pika clone is Alolan Raichu. Yeah, Alolan Raichu. Favorite evolution, Vaporeon. Favorite fossil, Tyrantrum. Favorite regional form. Now, that's a tough one. We'll do Hisuian Typhlosion. Favorite Gigantamax. Sure, Gengar. Favorite baby. I don't like any of the babies. Blue Mantike. Favorite box legendary. Kyogre. Favorite mythical. Favorite mythical. Either Genesect, Cresselia, or Darkrai. Where is Cresselia on this list? I did not have it on here. There's no Cresselia on this list. We'll go Deoxys. The normal one. I forgot to include that. Oh well. Favorite Ultra Beast. Definitely gonna be Guzzlord. It'd be Guzzlord or Naganadel, one of the two. Then we have favorite Paradox form, and that one is clearly gonna be Walking Wake. Favorite type is the water type. Favorite Pokeball, sure, we'll do the Dive Ball. Randomize a Spinda for me. Favorite Vivillon, nobody cares. Favorite Alcremie, big Alcremie. And favorite new Evo, we'll do Clodsire. Alright, so this is my ultimate Pokemon picker board with every single Pokemon selected and everything in the extra box. Thank you all for watching this video. I know it was a long one, but I'll see you in the next one, which might be a while. It's going to be a really hard challenge, but I'll see you in the next one, and peace.